In remote corners of South America lives a dynamic and feisty animal, the elegant, camel-like guanaco. You've got to be tough to be a guanaco, especially a male guanaco. In the southern Andes Mountains, fierce blizzards and crippling cold threaten to freeze you to death. Then there are killer cats. This is the home of the mountain lion, known here by the Inca name, Puma. It's a strong and powerful predator. If the puma does kill you, a long list of animals will gladly dine on your remains, including little gray foxes and giant Andean condors. And you can't even trust your own kind. If the cold or the cat doesn't kill you, rivals for your territory will certainly try. But without a territory, you can't get a female to breed. So a male guanaco's life is filled with conflict. Supremacy is the objective, physical violence the method, females the prize. So if you're a male guanaco, tough isn't enough. You also have to be spitting mad. Born of volcanic fire, carved by ice and wind, the famous granite towers of Piney are the crowning glory of the world's longest mountain chain, the Andes. This is southern Chile's Torres del Paine National Park, only 1,000 miles from the ice cap of Antarctica. And just over the mountains is the Pacific Ocean, a birthplace of storms. So this land is battered by some of the fiercest winds on Earth. To survive here, you need to be a very special animal. One that is adaptable, well organized, alert, and above all, tough. The guanaco. And they certainly are well adapted, having thick, soft coats for protection against the cold. Wild ancestors of the domesticated llama, their fleece was much admired by the Inca civilization, providing warmth and wealth. But a warm coat is not enough. A male guanaco starts adult life homeless and alone, and to be successful, he has to win a territory and breed. So he must communicate with potential mates and rivals. A raised tail and lowered ears means aggression, and the elaborate language makes intentions clear. The ear flagging, the spitting, the raucous screams means a battle for conflict. These fierce fights are dangerous and could lead to broken bones, even death. But in the world of the guanaco, territory is everything. The rival must be driven right out of the territory. The males are fighting for this prime real estate, a lush area with ample food and water. And by winning this territory, the victor is able to attract females. An absolute necessity if he's to breed successfully. His aggressive defense means that the females in his family group can feed without hassle from other males. Guanacos graze carefully, and their soft cloven hooves minimize damage to the delicate turf. There is safety in numbers, too. Many pairs of eyes and ears provide protection from predators. And in this landscape, predators can hide almost anywhere. The male keeps a sharp lookout for danger, especially pumas, the guanaco's worst nightmare. Pumas are a serious threat to survival and often stalk lake edges for thirsty guanacos. They are powerful predators, 6 feet of lethal muscle, capable of pulling down prey 8 times their weight. But a fully grown guanaco is a difficult, sharp-eyed target. If they are seen, pumas won't waste energy with further hunting, and guanacos sound the alarm with a far-reaching cry. These powerful cats spend most of their days grooming and resting in preparation for nights of hunting. And she'll need plenty of rest, for spring is the busy season in the southern Andes, a time of movement and great migrations, and she hunts an inspiring wilderness, the Torres del Paine National Park, home to the Andean. Spring is the time when guanacos give birth, so stillborn calves or afterbirths will be a welcome source of food. Young guanacos, called chilengos, are vulnerable, and because there is safety in numbers, females synchronize births. Over about 2 weeks, nearly 500 chilengos will be born, so when one mother does it, they must all do it. It is no wonder that spring is considered the high season in these wild mountains, and the young guanacos are eager to become part of the celebration. The most precocious chilengos are walking and nursing within half an hour, and they must all become mobile as soon as their young legs will carry them. And quickly, for the danger of puma attack is never far away. The cats watching from some lofty crag with hungry eyes. But even big cats don't have it easy. Guanaco family groups tend to gather in areas where there is less cover for pumas on the prowl, and the chilengos are deceptively quick on their feet. Fast or not, they are in mortal danger, for they are the puma's favorite prey. Even when there is little cover, pumas are masters of invisibility, stalking their intended victim by using hollows in the ground. Many chilengos die in their first year, but now is the most dangerous time of their lives, especially if they leave the relative safety of their mother's side. Life is a constant battle between the puma's stealth and the guanaco's sharp eyes. This time, the eyes win. Guanaco numbers can be seriously reduced by pumas, but to truly understand the way guanacos live and die requires knowledge, and to get it, you have to catch the chalengos. Dr. Bill Franklin and his helpers have been studying guanacos since 1976, and with so many years' experience behind him, he knows this mother is being difficult and dangerous. This angry female has made it clear that her chalengo is not going to become a part of Bill's scientific data. But Bill also notices something else about the female. Not only is she very aggressive, she is also rather fat. So he leaves her to regain her composure in peace, but instructs one of his students to watch her from a distance. It soon becomes obvious that this particular guanaco is a very special mother. She's about to give birth again, though she already has a chalengo barely 3 hours old. Only once in 20 years has Bill observed guanaco twins. But now he has another opportunity to study this extraordinary event. The firstborn chalengo seems a bit confused by this staggering addition to the family. During the coming months, scientists will closely observe the twins as they face the dual threats of bad weather and puma attack. But for the study to have meaning, single chalengos must be collared and tagged as well. The fleet-footed youngsters must be brought to ground. But sometimes the only contact is the ground. When they're just a few hours old, chalengos are easier to catch and can be handled with a minimum of stress to both mother and chalengo. Wild though they are, guanacos see scientists almost every day and are at ease in their presence. For 2 decades, Bill Franklin has given dozens of students the privilege of studying one of the most interesting animals on Earth, and he is the world's leading authority on these toughest of survivors.
You run 13, 14 kilos like you.
Tagging the chalengos allows their habits and movements to be observed and recorded. And while its mother looks on anxiously, her chalengo is weighed and examined. Much can be learned, for the health of this chalengo may be a reflection of the health of the region in which it lives.
Steady it. Steady it. Holy cow. Yep, 13.
The chalengos are fitted with radio transmitters, so their life and death struggles can be followed. In this way, Bill has discovered that guanacos may live as long as 12 years, but only if they survive the first year.
Stay down. Everybody stay down, please. Just walk over.
The chalengo will be closely guarded by its mother for the whole year. But despite this protection, up to 80% of the year's offspring might be taken by pumas. Separated from its mother, a chalengo is confused and in danger, so Bill is anxious to return it quickly.
Okay, go on. Okay, baby, up. Here we go.
In fact, chalengos will readily become attached to humans when they're very young, and only when they see and smell their mother again will the bond be retied. And Bill watches to ensure this takes place. To see the two together again is a heartening moment, and Mother and Chalengo soon rejoin their family group. Once all are together again, the dedicated scientific work of following each colored Chalengo's struggles can begin. Summer and winter, Bill's students take to the hilltops to check on the whereabouts of the Chalengos. The receiver can distinguish between each collared youngster and also register if there is lively movement or not. So a scientist is able to tell if a Chalengo is alive or dead. If a mortality signal is received, the body must be found and the cause of death determined. This Chalengo was killed by a puma, for the big cats cover their kills to hide them from scavengers. The puma will return to eat its meal under the cover of darkness. The cats hunt mostly at night, so evening is the time to wake up. And with pumas on the prowl, night is the guanacos' time of greatest danger. So they have a strategy for staying alive. They move house. Nights aren't entirely friendly to pumas either. A mother with cubs may be ambushed by a male puma from a neighboring territory. So she delays leading her cubs out of the den until the light is fading, and will be careful as she guides them to the kill. As night falls, guanacos climb to the tops of bare hills, and the strategy makes sense. There's less cover up here, which means that even in darkness, pumas will have difficulty approaching without being seen. The mothers will ensure that their Chalengos are close by, and the male will keep watch from the edge of the family group. Staying alive at night is far more perilous than daylight, for guanacos need moonlight to see, while pumas have sharp vision even on the darkest nights. But they still take the precaution of dragging their meal into thick cover. This is a tough task, for the guanaco carcass may outweigh her by as much as 200 pounds. But she must struggle on, for thick cover provides a safer place for her cubs to feed. The family shares the food amicably, with the youngsters getting first bite. And once they've filled their bellies, the cubs can indulge in some late-night revelry. No doubt this play helps develop muscles and hunting skills, but they also seem to be just enjoying themselves. Their mother must recover the carcass, for it will feed them all for at least 2 more nights. At the first hint of dawn, the female leads the cubs back to the den, barking instructions to hurry them along. It's important they are back in a safe place by daylight, and the sun is rising fast. Once the pumas are back at their dens, the guanacos come back downhill to the food-rich meadows they abandon at night. Joining them is a wealth of wildlife that floods into the park during the spring and summer. Many wildfowl breed here, including graceful black-necked swans and the chest-padding ruddy duck. There is food for all, especially guanacos. And though summer is a time of plenty, the park lies in the wildest extremity of South America, and the weather cannot be taken for granted. Guanacos must take good care of their soft woolen coats, so dust bathing is a daily ritual. Keeping them in tip-top condition could mean the difference between life and death. For even in summer, icy winds and snow can blast down from the mountains. Winds of 100 miles an hour have been recorded here. And driven by these raging winds, freezing snow showers can be a killer. Her defense is in vain. Gray foxes scavenge dead meat too, and their hunger makes them aggressive. Though some of the meat will be eaten now, it is vital to store some of the scraps for use in harder times. So these caches of meat are hidden underground. In the dead of winter, they'll return for their long-buried meal, if they can find it. Summer can be an easy time for foxes. And like most predators, their cubs are raised on the misfortune of others. Not just dead chilengos and the remains of puma kills, but eggs, birds, and lots of beetles. Foxes can raise up to 5 cubs each summer, and though puma-killed guanacos are an important source of food, pumas also kill foxes. So it's best to keep out of sight. Killing isn't always a big cat's priority. Eating a guanaco on a hot summer's day is thirsty work, so she had to abandon the carcass to find much-needed water. The killer cat is watched by many eyes. The crested caracara is another scavenger that looks to the puma for leftovers, and it already has the chilengo carcass in its sights. With the foxes frightened off by the puma, it too can benefit from the chilengo's death. Nothing is wasted in this hungry land. As with all birds of prey, the caracara's hooked beak and sharp claws enable it to rip meat off the tough carcass. The caracara also has a family to feed, so scraps are taken back to its nest. Two chicks are the norm, but conditions are so harsh in these wind-swept mountains that food is difficult to find. So in most nests, only one chick survives. Life is tough in the mountains, and the short summer is a vital time in the lives of local animals. Guanacos are no exception. It's breeding time, a male guanaco's most challenging time of year. The females in his family group are now in breeding condition, and the territory-holding male has a job to do. He must not only sniff out those females that are ready to mate, he must also ensure that other males are kept out. With aggressively lowered head, he dashes around, marking his territory by adding to dung piles scattered around the real estate he calls his own. Each pellet contains his scent and announces ownership to other nosy males. Only he is allowed to use these territorial markers. So if another male has the nerve to drop dung on one of his piles, it is a serious insult. This intruding male must be driven out of the territory before it can get access to the females. But as he's determined to stay, the manure really hits the fan. These battles for females can be exhausting, the combatants galloping for miles across the hills. With the landlord away at war, other males may try to mate with his females. And while the cat's away, but it's important that everyone does mate during the same few days. And every male wants a slice of the action. But some young guys never get the footwork right. When the territory owner returns, the young guy could be beaten to death, but only if he gets caught. The landlord means business, so the cheating youngster is literally running for his life. The outcome of such a battle is often worse than broken bones. If a puma spots his injury, he could make an easy meal. If the young guy is to stand a chance of surviving, he needs a place to hide. And fortunately for him, Guanaco society provides just such a sanctuary, a sort of bachelor's club between the family territories where dispossessed males can gather. And if he finds one of these areas before a puma gets him, he will be allowed to join without having to fight for his place. He is still not safe from puma attack, but many pairs of eyes give greater security while his wounds heal. The other members are males who've lost territories or young males evicted from family groups. And apart from eating, the most important activity is play. It's here that young males learn the language and rituals of combat. They engage in playful bouts of sparring to win status in the hierarchy. But as they get older, they develop the strength and skills for serious combat. Most members will go through 2 or 3 years of cheerful neck chewing before fights become serious. And by then, the mature males are ready to leave the group and try to win a territory of their own. But they may have to wander the hills alone and homeless for months on end. And other big changes are in the air too. Nights are growing colder. Autumn mists fill the valleys. Life is getting harder. Tougher conditions mean family groups join together to wander in search of food, much to the annoyance of the territorial male whose backyard they invade. With autumn's glorious colors in full bloom, the herds move around even more, forcing the pumas to track them during the day so they can hunt them during the night. Like the Guanacos, pumas also hold territories. As much as 60 square miles for a female like this, but often larger for a male. Guanaco real estate is divided up into much smaller areas. So the national park feeds about 2,500 Guanacos, and they in turn feed about 25 pumas. But all this is going to change. Real hardship is about to strike. Winter is sweeping down from the mountains. Death travels with the wind. Blizzards and deep snow make survival increasingly difficult. Most of the birds have fled. Almost everything else has to move too. Guanacos, foxes, pumas, all search desperately for food. And in their search, the Guanacos' hooves leave a scent trail, making it easy for the pumas to follow. In the Guanacos' mass exodus from their summer range, the migrating family groups coalesce into large herds, and the pumas must stay close, both mother and cubs. Survival hangs in the balance for both predator and prey, but the Guanacos are forced to migrate through unfamiliar terrain. So the pumas have the advantage, and if they're skillful, they can maneuver into a position of ambush. To add to their problems, the guanacos have to migrate into areas where conditions seem particularly bad. But this is one of nature's classic contradictions. It is here that fierce mountain winds blow some of the snow off grasses and shrubs, making it easier for guanacos to feed. But starvation is always a threat. If severe weather persists, it can take a heavy toll to the benefit of the little gray foxes. If they have already exhausted their buried supplies of meat, they are relegated to digging for frozen insects. But they don't ignore the threat from pumas. It's quite the opposite. The foxes actually trail the cats, waiting for them to provide a larger meal. And they may be lucky. Condors also watch the guanaco herds. For this is an easy time for scavengers as well as killer cats. Weakened by hunger, guanacos can be easy prey, and the puma has killed one on the cliff and dragged it down into the valley below. She has partially covered it with snow. But with the threat of thieves from above, she must cover the carcass more carefully. Huge front paws shovel snow effectively, but an even better deterrent against the condors and foxes is her presence, and that of her waiting cubs. The cats can be seen easily in the snow, so the hungry cubs will have to wait until nightfall to enjoy their meal, for they're still at risk from other hungry cats that could be hiding nearby. So once the female has covered the carcass, they will all gather nearby to stand guard. But deep snow makes traveling difficult, even with the benefit of outsized paws. With meat stored in the freezer, the puma family's immediate future is assured. The guanaco's future too, for winter's last full moon is waning. As the sun releases winter's icy grip on the land, the annual spring ritual is repeated. Guanacos hurry back to their summer territories. The males reestablish their ownership of prime real estate, and once again they turn their attention to attracting females to their lush meadows. And with spring at hand, the park becomes a mecca for wildlife. The year has come full circle. Large flocks of upland geese and their fluffy chicks join the guanacos. And within a few weeks, females will drop the next generation of chalengos into a glorious carpet of flowers. Burgeoning vegetation means there should be plenty to eat. But last year's Chilengos eat more as they grow larger, and each family group has a limited feeding territory. Overpopulation can lead to hardship and starvation, but Huanacos have a solution to this problem too. The adult male drives off all of last year's offspring. This is a dramatic turn of events for the yearlings, and they're reluctant to leave home, signaling appeasement to the male with a forward curved tail. But even if the male gets the message, he must press home the attack. The future of his whole family group depends once again on ruthless aggression. In a desperate attempt to stay in the family group, the yearling circles back around. But the more he tries to stay, the more determined the male becomes. And this could have disastrous consequences. When roused, territorial males can be extremely violent. An injured male yearling is in serious danger. If it fails to find its way to the sanctuary of a male group, its fate is all but sealed. The puma cubs are nearly grown now and have formidable appetites, so their mother must increase her hunting. There is little chance for an injured yearling, for the cubs are bolder now, investigating their territory with enthusiasm and no longer waiting for nightfall to eat. The cub's mother tries to encourage them away from the kill, but one hungry youngster is reluctant to obey. Future generations of Huanacos will have to remain alert when these cubs become experienced hunters. With the big cats at a safe distance, condors and caracaras can once again take advantage of the Huanacos' presence here. Foxes, too. In fact, the Huanacos' life and death is the essential pivot upon which all life is poised. For their competitive social system has evolved because it makes maximum use of the land with minimal damage. Huanacos are now protected in Chile and are holding their own, but in many ways, they protect themselves. With so many lone males waiting for a chance to win a territory, it's almost certain that only the strongest males will breed. Their future, and that of all Huanacos, depends on the survival of the fittest. Their battles are a crucial part of the never-ending cycle of life in the southern Andes. So the fights for territory must continue, however dangerous and exhausting. For the land to sustain life, there have to be winners and losers. And it's essential that the winners are so tough. For even in this windy, unforgiving land, their vitality helps all Guanacos to survive, to thrive, and prosper.